If one of your goals for 2026 is to start a business, specifically a print-on-demand business, then this video is for you because we're going to walk through everything you need to get set up from no knowledge to having your first listing up. I've made over $1.5 million on my Etsy print-on-demand store alone. And if you follow this tutorial, I guarantee you're going to save hours, if not days, if not weeks of trial and error of trying to get set up correctly. Print on demand and Etsy is what helped me quit my job 8 months after starting. And now since then, for the last 3 years, I've been able to travel for months every single year, working remotely, just focusing on my store and helping other students scale up their stores. But if you're brand new to this concept, what even is print on demand? Print on demand is the use of external suppliers to provide you products that you create the designs. So for example, a t-shirt, you never have to actually touch a t-shirt. You just create a design for a t-shirt, and these external suppliers will print and ship that product for you, meaning you never have to hold inventory. You don't have to stay at home to work on this because you can just do this right from your computer. You never have to worry about packaging or shipping things because your supplier handles all of that for you. And specifically, I use Printify. Printify is my only supplier now for all my print-on-demand products. I sell mostly sweatshirts and t-shirts, but we're gonna go into what you need to think of when you are picking your own product. Just know for now, Printify has thousands of different products that you can pick that you just get to create the design for. But again, you never have to order stock. You never have to have it at your house. Printify will print and ship and manage all of that for you. And why are we actually starting with Etsy for this? I strongly believe that as a beginner, if you have never sold anything online before, Etsy is the easiest platform to learn and to actually start making sales quickly. You don't have to worry about creating a website. You don't have to worry about conversion rate optimization. Etsy kind of has a lot of those tools already built in for you. You don't have to worry about web hosting, but the best benefit out of all of them is that you don't have to do any marketing. For my print-on-demand Etsy store, I do not run ads. All of my sales, all $1.5 million of my sales have been organic through people finding me directly through the Etsy app. Versus if you were to start your own website, which I also do Shopify as well, but that is something I recommend for people after they already have a successful store on Etsy. But for Shopify, you have to learn how to do Facebook ads, how to run Google ads, how to rank on Google. And it takes so much more time versus if you are just a beginner and you want to just nail one platform, Etsy is the way to go. So the first thing you want to do is set up your Etsy store. You actually need a personal Etsy account, and then under that Etsy account, you can open up a storefront. Etsy will guide you through it. It might take a few days for verification, so you might want to just start this early if you plan to get it started soon, but get this set up and then create an account on Printify as well. Then once you are set up on both of these, now what you're going to do is you are going to connect your shop. When you first start on Printify, it'll probably just prompt you to connect a store, and you're going to get to a page that somewhat looks like this. Mine's a little different since this is an existing Printify account, but you're going to go to Etsy and you're going to hit connect to Etsy. You're going to get a pop-up and you're just going to approve that. Now, once your stores are connected, it's not going to seem like anything changes much, but now on the back end, whenever you post anything to Printify, you can link it right to Etsy. And when you get an order on Etsy, you're going to be able to find it on Printify. I'm going to show you how we start making a listing from Printify. But first, before anything, we need to pick what product you're going to sell. And this can be something that's very overwhelming to people. If you take a look on Printify and you take a look at their catalog, you are going to see a very large catalog of items. Glassware, underwear, baby accessories, long sleeves, sportswear, swimwear, a lot of things under different niches. But there are some things that I look for when I'm first deciding if I want to sell a product. The first thing that I usually look for is to pick a product. And I say a product because you are not creating a store with multiple products. In fact, having focus is so important. So we are going to pick one product and we are going to stick to that product. Still to this day, I have two main products, sweatshirts and t-shirts, but I'd still even say sweatshirts are my main product 4 years later after starting my store. And I want you to have the same mindset. I just want you to pick one, because having that focus in the beginning is going to make the rest of this video and just the rest of your time running this business a whole lot easier. So the first thing that I want you to think of, and you can have a few different ones here, we're going to narrow it down further in the next few steps, but go through Printify and pick out some products of things that you would actually want to design for. Maybe you love pets and you want to stick to a pet product. Maybe you're like me and you love sweatshirts and you want to do a sweatshirt store. Maybe you've bought t-shirts in the past and you want to do a t-shirt store. Maybe you love candles, or maybe you are an avid mug collector. Having at least a little bit of a like for the product that you're selling can really, really help with the longevity of how long you actually put in towards working on this business. Now, once you have a list of these products, the next thing that we're going to do is validate that people on Etsy are actually buying these products. So you can come on over to Etsy and just look up the product you're planning to sell. Let's say a mug, for example. Going through mugs, the first thing that I'm looking for is that I'm seeing listings that have a popular now badge, or there's a few at least that have a best seller badge. If you're seeing a lot of these badges, it's not a sign that something's saturated. It's a sign that there's lots of buyers for that product. The next good sign when you're doing research for a product is if you're noticing a lot of the bestsellers or just a lot of the listings are in different niches. Some might be towards pets, some might be towards careers, some might be towards moms. Having a wide range of niche availability for a product is also a good sign, because it gives you a lot of room to test and try out different niches. And then finally, you want to actually calculate the price that people are selling these for to make sure that you are actually able to compete with a Printify product. So you want to open up a few of the bestsellers that you see, and I don't want you to trust this first number that you see here. Most people are not selling it for the dirt cheap number that you usually see when you first open a listing. Some people do this deceptive pricing tactic where listings look cheap because they offer a cheap option. This one doesn't seem like they're doing it too bad. Sometimes you'll see a mug for like $5 and you open it and that's a digital download file. But for this one, for example, a pure white mug, which is cheaper on Printify, they're charging $18.71 for the 15 ounce, but they're mostly making money on the higher ones here, the colored ones that have a colored handle. These are going for $17.96 to $22.46. And if you scroll down, they're charging $5.99 for shipping. And one tool that I use quite a bit, and if you want any tool that I'm going to be talking about in this video today, check my description below. I'll have discount links for all of them. But one of my most used tools is Everbee. It does have a free plan, so you can give it a try out and then you can upgrade if you plan to use it more. But they do have a profit calculator here that pulls in a lot of data from this listing, but you'll have to go in and change it a little bit. So I've plugged in some of the pricing here. So I don't think I got the decimals quite right, but it was something along this line. $17.69. They were running shipping for $5.99. I didn't do this discount price, but I could include that. And then I put the cost of item, the cost of shipping, which I went and grabbed from Printify. I did grab the Printify premium price because as soon as you start making a handful of sales a month, it's worth it to upgrade to Printify premium. So I price always with Printify premium, but in the first month or two, you might be paying slightly more for your product price. And scrolling down, I can see that after all my Etsy fees, after my Printify fees, all of my fees, this person, if they're using Printify, is making about $10 in profit. And that's around what I try to stick with as a minimum, 10 USD profit per order. And just by going through listings, again, do not trust that original price that you see. Actually go in, compare a handful of listings to grab the general price that people are selling these for. I typically sell on the high end of things. I am more expensive than most of my competitors. I'm trying to compete on value and offering different designs. So don't overstress the price. But if this is a product where someone is selling it for $2 and we can't get it for something cheaper than $20, probably not a good product to sell. But generally this one, I have sold mugs before, and I do believe mugs are a good product, but this is just an example of how you would check. But some products that I recommend that I've sold before, that I have students that sell, one is the Gildan 18,000 crewneck sweatshirt. This is my bestseller. Next is the Comfort Colors 1717 t-shirt. I used to always sell the Bella canvas, and I still sell a lot of the Bella canvas, but Comfort Colors is only going upwards in terms of customer, I guess, options. And you'll notice most bestsellers nowadays, especially late 2025, are the Comfort Colors shirts. I also love tote bags. I love candles as well. Candles are also a great option to sell out there that can bring you a profit. Again, just still do the research behind every single one of these listings. I've seen blankets do really well, and I actually have videos on all of these products, so you can check out my channel if there's one in specific that you are interested in. Now that you've picked your product, we can actually go back to your Etsy storefront and start setting up a store that looks like it's tailored for this product. And you might be wondering, what about niche? I don't have my niche yet. Well, because we're actually going with one product, we're going to be testing multiple niches. So we're actually going to keep your branding pretty vague. We're going to keep it open so that you can stick to that one product, but you're able to apply to a bunch of different people under a bunch of different searches and a bunch of different niches by just getting a bunch out across many different niches. And you also want to make sure when you are doing this that you are setting up your store completely. There's actually a lot of settings within Etsy and the storefront that if you don't fill them out, Etsy is not going to rank you that high. I have this full ultimate Etsy checklist that breaks down every step you need to get started, every setting you need to fill out, everything you need for your listings, and everything you need to do to scale. But for the point of this, we're going to quickly go through the Etsy storefront portion of this checklist. We're going to want a generic name or a general vibe, something like Katie Apparel, Tats Totes, Kaylee Co., either vague or related to the product that you plan to sell. You want to make sure the shop name is easy to type and easy to remember so people can remember to look you up again. If it's a bunch of numbers or things they're never going to remember, it's going to be hard for them to come back and shop from you. You want to create your banner, your logo. You want to set up your shop title, your personal profile picture, and then you just want to go through Etsy and you want to fill out every space that Etsy gives you to give them information. If you plan to sell to the UK or you need some of your privacy policy, it also goes through some of that. But right now we're just sticking to the top part here. And if you do want to get this checklist, right now you can get it for only $9.99 in the description below. And to create your Etsy banner and your Etsy logo, you can just start from a template for now. And my main design platform now in 2025 is Kittl. And you can get 25% off Kittl in the description below, again, where you can find all of the links for this video. But in the templates, you're going to just look up Etsy banner and you can find tons of banners here that you can use as your Etsy banner. And again, you can come back to this later. We just want to set up a complete looking store, one that inspires trust in our customers because it looks like it was well designed. Now you'll have your main banner. Of course, go and edit this, add in any photos you have, add in the name that you picked, and then you also want to create a matching logo. I see a lot of people who have mismatched banners to logos, but if you're looking at an actual brand, they match everything. You want to create a cohesive brand, again, that inspires trust. So to create a matching logo, I'm just going to open a new artboard. So you can hit A on your keyboard, or at the bottom here, there's this little square thing that if you hover over it says artboard. And then you're going to draw out a square. And then in the side here, I can change the sizing, and the Etsy logo size is 500 by 500. You can just Google this. And now I'm just going to make it match. So I'm actually just going to grab the color that we have here. If you can't grab the color for some reason, you can do this. There you go. And then I'm just going to grab the logo that I've created and then maybe just match this a little bit with some of these kind of funky things. Don't overdo it on your logo. It's going to be really small on your banner, and it really just needs to show what your shop name is in a memorable way. So you don't have to go crazy with this at all. In fact, mine is literally like this. It is a color background with my text logo on top of it. Now we're gonna start doing some niche research. And because we've picked one product, this is about to become a whole lot easier. And if you can't afford all these tools, all of these tools do have free trials so you can get started, or you can just do research right within Etsy. But these tools really help speed things up. And E-rank is the tool that I use to try to find gaps in niches. So maybe I've decided that I want my product to be sweatshirts. Maybe yours is mugs, maybe yours is napkins, maybe yours is socks or blankets or whatever you've come up on. Well, what you're gonna do on E-rank is you're just going to search up that product, sweatshirt, and what we're going to do is scroll down. Now, once this loads, you can scroll down and you're going to see a bunch of other keywords using the keyword sweatshirt, which is what we're selling. And what we want to do is start going down and trying to find ones that have high search volume but low competition. The problem is some of these are going to be trademarked. Trademarked means this is something owned by another company, which you cannot sell unless you have explicit permission. And this is the Wicked sweatshirt. You're probably not going to get a Wicked trademark. So skip ones like this, and we're going to keep going down. We have things like a wifey sweatshirt, Mrs. sweatshirt. We have things like bow sweatshirt, customized sweatshirt. But say, for example, even you were looking up here and you see nurse sweatshirt and you think, I'm in that niche. I actually really wanted to design for that niche. Don't worry, we're going to go further down. So if you've come here and you're like, I really do want to try nurse sweatshirt, we're just going to click into that keyword and we're going to filter this down even more. So once it loads again, now we can keep going down and again, looking through the same lens of trying to find ones like this, NICU sweatshirt, which still has searches, but much less competition. We have things like LPN sweatshirt. We have things like Nike, I never say this, NICU nurse sweatshirt. Sorry to all the nurses out there. Obviously, I'm not a nurse. I think that might help as well as if you just sort by searches. Sometimes that helps as well. Scrolling down, we have nurse jacket. We have things like mother baby nurse sweatshirt, which could be a great one to do. Labor and delivery nurse sweatshirt. This might be a great option here. Now that we've picked a niche and we already have our product and you don't need to be tied down to this niche, we're going to do a few listings and designs for this niche, but that doesn't mean it's your new niche. Like I mentioned before, we picked one product so that we can keep testing niches. So you're not just going to pick labor and delivery nurse. You can just keep going through E-rank and finding those high search, low competition niches and just test them out by getting some listings out for your store. And the great thing about having a sub-niche listing is we can do research for both nurse sweatshirt and labor and delivery nurse sweatshirt. If we find something that's doing really well in the nurse sweatshirt niche, then we can find a way to actually make it different by applying it to the labor and delivery nurse niche. Or we can do direct research with the LAD, labor and delivery sweatshirt. So we can just go to labor and delivery nurse sweatshirt and see what is selling there. And looking this up, I am not seeing too many bestsellers, so it might not be something I want to focus on too much, but this is also part of the research. But a good way to check to see if this niche sells at all is by using the Everbee extension again, going to product analytics and sorting by monthly sales. And we can see that there are still listings making up to 30 sales a month on just this one listing, meaning it's still worth a shot to get a listing up. You're going to have tons of listings covering a lot of different niches. So as long as there's some sales in a niche, it could be worth it just to get a few listings up. And another good sign is taking a look at the listing age and just making sure that some of the listings that are making monthly sales are listed in the last few months, meaning there's still a chance that you can find a bestseller or a selling design, even though you might have listed this later than others. So what I like to do to make sure I'm not competing or just copying other people doing labor and delivery nurse sweatshirts is going to the higher niche up or looking in other related niches, like maybe teaching might have the same type of design style or eye for sweatshirts. But for this one, because it's a sub niche of nurse sweatshirt, I can just go see what's selling for nurse sweatshirt. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I put a twist on this to make it a labor and delivery nurse sweatshirt, which really isn't too hard. Like this one down here, we have 5 icons across the top of a sweatshirt. Maybe what I would do is have different icons related to labor and delivery nurse and then put that text underneath the sweatshirt as well. Or we have this very simple one right here, which literally is a bestseller that just says nurse with a heart. That one is very, very simple. And especially if you are a beginner to designing, sticking to simple text designs is going to do you a whole lot better than trying to over design something. My best sellers are literally just text across the top of a sweatshirt. So just going through some of the listings, you might start to see some trends popping up. For me, I'm noticing a lot of the kind of college looking text across the top, and Coquette seems to be doing really well in these niches, especially on usually blues or on pink sweatshirts. And looking at this one, I'm going to create my own version of this, but I'm going to change it up. I'm not going to be using the same type of background. I'm going to use the styling a little bit, but we're going to make this our own. So coming into Kittl, I'm looking for a sport type of font, and you can start from a template or you can just start from scratch within Kittl. But if you really just want some help, starting from some templates can definitely help. For me, I'm just looking for the text. So this one I might actually use, and we're going to change it up quite a bit, but it's, again, sometimes it's just helpful to start from a template. And now I'm just going to make sure the sizing is right. Sometimes if you start from a template within Kittl, it's a bit small. So I'm just going to make this into 4200 by 4800, which is around the size of a t-shirt or sweatshirt. And I'm just going to make this larger, but obviously this is not really what I want from this design. I'm going to change this up. So now I've got this far with my design, but because I noticed Coquette was doing well, I do want to add a Coquette type of vibe to this. So I can't find the exact graphic that I need. So I'm going to hop on over to Creative Fabrica to see if I can find an element that better fits with my design. So I just looked up bow, and there's quite a few in here that I like. I like kind of the style of these ones here. And if you want, in my description, you can get free 10 downloads or your first month free, whichever comes first, with Creative Fabrica. And I'm going to download this. We can see it gives us full commercial and full print on demand usage. And now from my computer, I've brought in this design here, and then I can change the color. If you brought in a PNG file and it doesn't let you change the color, Kittl does let you vectorize. You'll see the word vectorize on the side here, and you can just do that, and then you are able to select the color for your design. So I'm going to change it to the blue. We're going all blue vibe here. And then I'm liking how this looks, but I might go change the top of this text now. I'm thinking maybe a more dainty text would look good. So I'm just going to create a save this so I don't lose it. And then let's try out some different fonts for this top here. And there we go. And now we've created our own design. I followed different trends that I saw: the Coquette bow, the blue text, the kind of font script at the top, the college font along the top. But if you really struggle with coming up with designs, stick to simple text-based designs. You will see them everywhere. Literally just one font across the top, usually saying what a product is, or what usually does really well for those text designs is something funny. So you can use ChatGPT, use Pinterest to find out funny sayings around a niche and just write that in text across the top of a t-shirt or sweatshirt. But here we go. I'm actually pretty happy with this design. And the best part about creating a design like this that has a lot of sub niches is I can just duplicate this design. So if you hold an Option while dragging this out, and now I can just create a bunch of designs under this design by doing different types of nursing. You can go back into E-rank and find a bunch of the niches under nurse that are doing well, that are sub niche down, and just try creating different listings for all of those. Now, once I have my design, I am going to download this as a PNG file with a remove background. So it has a transparent background, and then we're going to download. So now that we have our design saved, we can go back into Printify, find the product that we wanted to sell, and then you can either do a DTG, or if you want to go embroidery, there are a lot more restrictions for embroidery. So if you do want to do embroidery, I'd recommend going to my channel and watching my videos on how to actually design for embroidery. And then scrolling down, you have two options of using Printify Choice or choosing a printer manually. What Printify Choice does is they actually route your product to the closest printer that is near your customer. And if you take a look at the colors, you're going to see two different groups of colors: global colors, which can be printed at different printers around the world. And then there's also a bunch of colors that are fulfilled in the US. So if you use those colors, then what's going to happen is it's going to always print from a US location and then ship out, which might not be ideal for you. So if you do plan to ship globally, then I recommend just sticking to the global colors here. Or what you can do, and what I actually do, just because my store was set up before this and I have trust using SwiftPod, and then if I get a Canada order or a UK order, I will manually pick a UK printer or a Canada printer, but majority of my Etsy sales are in the US anyway. So I have selected SwiftPod, but nowadays I've been hearing a lot more good reviews about using Printify Choice. I was hesitant before, but it does seem like a lot of the earlier kinks around Printify Choice have been kind of ironed out. So once you've selected what you're gonna do, when I'm gonna go to Printify Choice for this one, I'm gonna go to Start Designing. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to go to upload, and I'm going to bring in that file we just saved. And then I'm actually going to move this a little bit higher. I should have done this in my design file. But one thing you can do to try to guesstimate exactly how this is going to print is using the preview button, which is on the right corner here, and then just taking a look at how it looks like on the models. And I actually think that is a decent arrangement. I might go a little bit higher. Actually, I don't think I can. Oh yeah, I'm pretty high up. But I use the previews quite a bit just to get a better idea of how this is going to fit for people. And then if you want to add more colors, you're going to go to Select Variants. And again, if you have global fulfillment, meaning you want to ship worldwide, you can turn that on and you're going to see only the colors that are fulfilled globally. Or if you turn this off and you want to see all the colors, then these are the ones that will ship to the US. But again, I would just be careful and I would just stick to the ones that are global fulfillment. And the ones I want to do some sand. Let's do light pink for this. Unfortunately, we don't have a blue here, but sand usually does really well. And let's do a sport gray as well. And if you wanted to do a dark version of this design, all you have to do is click on the dark color, and then you'll see this blue box that says make a specific design for dark heather. And then you can go in and add a lighter version of this design. But again, if you really, really wanted the blue product here and you plan to mostly just ship to the US anyway, we can turn this off. And I actually really like ashes. So you might select ash and turn off the sport gray if I wasn't doing global. This doesn't mean that this can't be printed globally. It just means it's going to be printed in the US and shipped globally. So it's going to have to cross borders and might be subjected to tariffs. And scrolling down, I'm going to turn on light blue. And then let's go to Save Product. Then you'll get to a page that looks like this. You're going to scroll down. I do most of my editing right within Etsy. The only thing I really do on the Printify side is change the title to something I'll remember to search for this by, should I ever need to find this listing again. But this is really up to you if you want to add in your description here, if you want to add in your tags here. For me, I've just always kind of done it in Etsy, and I do it with my Etsy research at the same time. But again, it doesn't really matter on which part you do this. If you are selling to the EU, you are required to have a GPSR regulation, and you can turn this on. If you have my checklist that I mentioned earlier, it does go over all the different things you need if you are selling to the EU, because selling there is just a little bit more difficult, but it's nothing crazy. And then scrolling down, we're not offering personalization in this listing, so we don't have to turn that on. I always just go with the standard shipping here. For the shipping profile, they make one, but I always create my own shipping profile and have one shipping profile that I attach to all of my listings. So you don't really have to worry about this right now either. And then scrolling down, again, you can set your shipping or your prices in here. I prefer to do it right within Etsy. And then scrolling down, you can just hit publish. I already hit publish, so it loaded for you guys. But all you have to do is go through here, hit publish. And then when you move on over to Etsy, after a few minutes, you're gonna find it made a brand new listing in your shop. So opening my shop here, we see this bad boy appear. So we're going to open this up. And now we have to fill out our listing in a way that other people are going to be able to find us. So we already have our main keyword here, and my best tip for people just starting on Etsy and trying to find out how to title your tag is to just grab your main keyword, which is that keyword that we had found on E-rank, and search that up in Etsy, and then just see what other keywords other people are using for their listings here. So let's say this one, for example, I'm seeing keywords like coquette labor and delivery unit sweatshirt, baby OB RN sweater, L&D nurse crew neck. That could definitely be applicable to ours. And then I'm just gonna go through the top listings, not just one, I'm not just copying someone's title, but I'm going through a bunch of listings that are designing for the similar product and niche as me, and grabbing different keywords that fit my design as well. And you might be asking me, well, this is the old way of doing titles. Etsy lately has been recommending doing titles a different way. Honestly, I haven't seen that many bestsellers yet using the new suggested way Etsy has recommended doing titles. So I haven't changed the way I do titles at all. I'm still making sales, and I've only read some horror stories about people who went and changed all of their Etsy listings to the new Etsy title recommendations just to see their shop plummet because they reset all their SEO. So you can duplicate a listing and test to see if another type of title works, but this is still how I'm doing all of my titles. And then what I'm also doing is I'm going to copy this because we're going to use this later. But when it comes to now our photos and videos, our photos are the most important thing that people are going to look at. So I'm even doing research when I'm picking out how to do my photos. So if I just search up nurse sweatshirt or sweatshirt in general, one thing you might notice is that majority of them, like quite a lot of them, are using a folded mock-up. So I'm going to make sure that I'm using a folded mock-up as well. If they're doing really well for other people, I kind of want to replicate what's working for others. So on Etsy, I'm searching for a folded light blue sweatshirt mock-up. A mock-up is a blank photo of a print-on-demand product that allows you to lay your design on top to create a stylized photo for your listings. And one that I'm liking going through here, I've seen it as a bestseller for a few other people, is just this extremely simple one right here, but all of these are really good options, honestly. So what I'm going to do is buy that file. It's going to give you a download link. You can download it, and then back in Kittl under the same artboard or the same file that you had open within Kittl, or you can start a brand new file that just houses all of your mockups and all of your listing photos. You're just going to have your file, and then you're going to upload and put your design laid out on top of it. And then you are going to save this as a JPEG file. So I'm going to change this here to a JPEG, and I'm going to download. Then you'll upload that to Etsy under your photos. I never use the Printify mockups. I will make a mockup for every single color that I'm selling. And usually I'm selling the exact same colors over and over again. So I just have to buy one good selling mockup and then use that for all of my listings. So I would probably have I think we chose about 5 colors. So I would have 5 different color mockups in here. And then you could have any information cards, things like your quality guarantee, if you offer a money back guarantee, anything that provides useful information. And then you're also going to have something like a size chart. You could also have a fit chart, which shows a model wearing different sizes so it can help a customer make a decision. And don't worry, all of these you can buy right from Etsy as well. But all of your photos should be geared towards selling and helping a customer make a decision. If they go to your listing and they have questions that they have to message you about, chances are by the time they hear back from you, they've already picked a competitor. So every time I notice if I'm getting the same question over and over again, like how to wash this, then I'll make sure I have that information in my listing. Then scrolling down, we have to format our description. And the good thing about using the same product over and over again is we just have to do this once, and then you have a template that you can reuse. And the only thing you'll have to edit is the top of your description. I highly recommend making this point form so it's easy for people to read and to find what information they're looking for, like the about. And then at the very top, this is the only part of the description you have to change every time. And it's just going to be probably 2 to 3 sentences using your keywords up here, but in a sentence format. So mine says, calling all labor and delivery nurses, share your passion for nursing, or provide a comfy gift to the nurses in your life with our coquette L&D sweatshirt. And then finally down here, you can set your pricing. You probably did your research earlier based on pricing with your competition. So depending on what you're selling, I highly recommend using the Everbee profit calculator and just going through and set the pricing that you want to price at. And you can see I charge in CA Canadian because I am Canadian, but US shoppers will see the price in USD, but converted. So you don't really have to worry about USD shoppers seeing Canadian. They're going to see it in USD, just their equivalent to that amount. And then scrolling down, a lot of these things are already filled out. If there's any attributes going through here that are relevant to you, you can go ahead and select those. But the most important thing that we fill out next is the tags. And the tags are going to just be more keywords like you used in the title, but we're going to use all 13 and we have to keep them pretty short. So we are just going to actually copy the ones up here. Coming down to our tags, I'm going to paste these in, and a lot of them aren't going to fit just because it's too long. So I'm just going to make these a bit shorter. Labor, coquette, let's call it coquette nurse, nursing, grad. And I just realized in this video, I've been spelling labor the Canadian way, and that Americans don't have the U. Do the way you spell it. If you are American, must, and the Brits, we use a U in everything. So you might have spelled everything without the U, depending. Just don't yell at me. I know I'm gonna get so many comments about that. And if you need help filling these out, you can do exactly what we did before. Go to your competitors' listings, multiple of them, not just one person's, because not everyone's gonna be relevant to you. And you can use the Everbee extension on the listing page, and you can scroll down and actually see what other tags people are using. And you can also see how many searches and competition there are. And you can just click on them to copy them and then go back to your listing and paste them into your tags. Now we have to change our shipping profile, and how you do that is you just go to your settings, you go down to shipping settings or delivery settings. They call it different things based on where you're from. Again, Canada, we get a different word apparently. Actually, I think mine was delivery before and now it's changed to shipping. But you go to shipping settings and then you can just set up a profile, set the amount of processing days, and then you can select a shipping option, and then you're going to name that in a way that you're going to remember. And then when you come to the shipping option, you're just going to change that and you're going to select that shipping profile. So say for example, I have this one, and then I'm going to apply that. If I want to charge for shipping, I can add that in. And the very last thing you want to check, and you really just have to do it once, but for your first listing, check out your core details, and it should say production partners Printify. But if it does not, go into change, and scrolling down, you're going to change this information to say who made it, another company or person, what is it, a finished product. Then you can change it to when was it made to order. And then you can add in a production partner. So I put in Printify, and you can just choose one of the main suppliers for their location. It's not that important, but you do just need to disclose to Etsy that you aren't the ones printing this. You've designed them, but you are not the printer. And by filling this out, that tells them that you are using an external production partner, which is fine as long as you disclose it. And there you go. Now you have a completed listing on Etsy. Obviously, you're offering more colors. You are going to spend more time adding in the mockups and adding in some extra photos. If you would like a few extra tips on how to optimize your listing for sales, I will link that video up next on how to improve your conversion rate on your listings. So what actually happens now if you make a sale? Well, in Printify, it's going to show up under your Printify orders. And automatically within 24 hours, you can change that setting, but the default setting is within 24 hours of them receiving an order, it goes to print, which is then sent to a printer who is going to print and ship this for you. They will automatically within Etsy mark your order as shipped and done. So there's actually nothing that you need to do once you make a sale unless a customer reaches out to you. One thing you do need to keep in mind though is Printify charges your credit card. It doesn't go from Etsy to Printify and Etsy pays Printify. Printify charges your credit card, Etsy pays you out. Then with the money that Etsy pays you out, you pay off your credit card and then you keep the difference, and that is your profit. A lot of people dislike this, but let me change your mind. I travel for free every single year because of how many credit card points I get because of my Etsy print on demand business. I am charging every single order I get on Printify to my credit card, racking up points. Then I get paid by Etsy and I pay it off. So guys, this was a lot of information for one video. And on any part of this, if you need me to go a bit slower because I've been told I talk a little bit fast, you want some Kittl tutorials, you want some design tutorials, some listing tutorials, how to get your first sales, I have all of those videos on my channel, which you can check out. And don't forget, I also have my ultimate Etsy checklist if you need all of these steps and all of these little settings broken down into a checklist for you to use. And if this video taught you anything at all, if you could drop a like and subscribe, and if there's any video you want me to do more in depth that you can't find on my channel, let me know in the comments below.